Hey guys, how you doing? Uncle Connor here once again with another video, and today we're going to be looking at the Conan, well not the, Conan uh, movie DVD collection. Now, see, Conan coming from the now, I think when I was younger, I'm pretty sure there was a cartoon. I was like E-Man and it. I'm pretty sure there was a cartoon at some stage of Conan. Because I remember I used to have these sort of slightly large figures when I was younger. I haven't still got them. Gave them to charity about 21 years ago. But yeah, originally I was pretty sure they came from a cartoon. I'm not sure that's how I knew about it, or whether actually, maybe it might have actually seen the films first before I actually saw that. I'm not too sure. I know I saw the films, the first two, when I was younger, when I was in my early teens, many moons ago now. About 26 years ago. I think I first see these films when I was about 12 or 13, so about 26 years ago, something like that, crazy. 25, 26 years ago. So that's how I knew about Conan, as I said, and the cartoon. You know, I'm not sure if they came. I think the films obviously they came before the cartoon. I'm not sure if there was ever a comic at all, or whether they just made the films, but I'm not too sure anyway. But obviously the first two, most well-known ones, obviously starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. So yeah, and this franchise, well, it consists of three films that have got the title of Conan, but I think the third one is sort of like a reboot. I don't think that has any connection with these two. I think it's like sort of a reboot. I think they're actually planning on a third Conan sequel to these, starring obviously Arnie. But I think that's been delayed numerous times. I think it's called Conan the Legend or something like that. I read. I think it's been delayed. It's like probably one of those films that's in development hell, so to speak, where it just keeps getting delayed. To be honest, I don't even know if it's ever going to be made. To be honest, it keeps getting delayed. I guess it will be sometimes, but I don't know if it just sounds like a bad idea. Because I mean, Arnie, don't get me wrong, as much as I love Arnie and but I think he's probably a bit too old to still be making films. I mean, that's just my opinion. Maybe doing cameos, but I think he's a bit too old now. I think doing another Conan film at his age now is probably a bit too much. I don't know. To me, I don't know if it sounds like a bad idea or a good idea. As much as I said, as much as I love Arnie, but I don't know if it's a good idea making another one. Because you don't know whether it's going to be any good or not. It could end up just being a total disaster. I mean, it could be a surprise. It could end up being good. But I doubt if it's going to be as good as the first two when Arnie was in his prime and he was on form, when he was younger. But anyway, so let's talk about the first one. This is the special edition of it. So obviously starring Arnie, Conan the Barbarian. That's where it all kicks off. And yeah, I really love this, to be honest. It's probably one of his top, films that he's ever done. Obviously one of the earlier ones. I'm not sure how many films he'd been in previous to this. I think he made a couple. It wasn't his first film. But I think it's one of his first top films that would sort of put him on the map. Because I think it was 81, I believe. So that's before he did this before Terminator. So I think this sort of like put him on the map, pretty much, in terms of, and he was, he just went on to be a massive yeah, he's kept making massive film after massive film after this. Yeah, and just like arguably the greatest action hero of all time, to be honest. And obviously my favourite action hero of all time, Arnie. You know, don't think there's anyone going to be ever be better. Just love Arnie. And as I said, this is just, I think it's fantastic actually. To be honest, as I said, it's one of his best films that he's ever done, and it's epic. To be honest, it's a good length for this, 2 hours. I think it's about right. It's not too short. It's not too long. It's one of them films where you can sort of like. I feel like one of these films where you can sort of sit and relax and watch it. You sort of don't. You're not on the edge of your seat. Where it's just like an hour and a half film where it's just all action and you've got to like, you know, blink and you miss it situation. It's not like this. It's sort of like got a good story to it and a good, as I said, good time, a good pace where it sets out, you know, where there's a bit of storytelling, you know, a bit of talking, and then like the action. And then, as I said, I like the story of him growing up, and you know how it starts. You know, he's a young kid, and then he grows up, and then you see him. You know, you see him progress to getting bigger, and into a man, and getting stronger, and you know, learning how to fight. So I really like that story of that, the telling of that of the Conan. You know, to becoming, you know, a boy into a man, and then into a warrior, and then into sort of like a legend, which is, you know, I really like the story of that. You know, and you know, it's obviously sad as well when his mother gets killed right in front of him. You know, it's pretty sad. Obviously, I don't think it's based on a true story. I don't think anything like Conan ever happened. I mean, very well maybe, but I don't think it did, as far as well as I know. But yeah, no, it's just an epic. Yeah, one of his best films, and I really like the action as well. The action scenes, just brutal and savage and horrific, and I love that. I love hardcore action, and to be honest, this actually should be rated an 18 because it's quite bloodthirsty, and you know the action is pretty brutal. So I'm surprised it's a 15 actually. That they got away with doing that 15 because most of the films back then, hardcore action, were like an 18, but I think a 15 was quite strong back then anyway. But you know, I think an 18 would have been more. But yeah, regardless of that, it's still a pretty epic, awesome film, and it's just really good all the way through, to be honest. And there's nothing boring about it, to be honest, or nothing bad to say. Now, going on to the second one, Conan the Destroyer, obviously starring Arnie again. This is the widescreen edition. Now, I've got to admit, this is, despite Arnie being in it, and I love Arnie and everything that he does, it's, I just don't feel this as much as the first. Yeah, I don't enjoy it as much as that. I think it's a bit of the villain, one of the villains that's like sort of wolf type. That's a bit too far fetched. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel it when I'm watching it. Like when I enjoy the first one, but this, I don't know. This seems actually sort of more like Red Sonja sort of type thing, where he's joined by like a few others in his sort of epic journey. And I really love Red Sonja, by the way. I do prefer Red Sonja to this actually, but it's quite similar, actually. And yeah, I don't know. I just don't feel it as much as the first. Don't get me wrong. I still think it's a good film and a good sequel, and it's enjoyable to an extent, and it's got good action and stuff. Yeah, but I just don't know. I don't know whether it's I feel more bored or if it's just I just don't like the storyline as much as the first. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it did as well as the first. Don't Not that I know of. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the storyline that I don't like. I just don't get into it as much as the first one. But as I said, the fact that Arnie's in it and doing his thing is always good. You know, he always delivers with his action anyway, and the action is good for what it is and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just don't like it as much as the first. But you know, the fact that Arnie's in it is still. Now let's go on to obviously the sort of reboot type Conan the Barbarian. And to be honest, it's not in the same league as Arnie's one. Not even properly Conan the Destroyer. To be honest, it's you know it doesn't even come close really. Let's be honest to the first. Um, but it's 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 good. One thing is it's not too short. It's not overly long. But I don't know. Maybe Secret it should probably be the same length as the first. Maybe it should be 10 or 20 minutes longer because it's about an hour and 40, I believe, something like that. So I don't know. Maybe you could say it's probably too short actually. Because you know Conan the Barbarian it's supposed to be a remake of the first, but yeah, I don't know. As I said, nowhere near as good as Arnie's, and obviously, you know, it's never going to be. Obviously, stars an early Jason Momoa. Obviously, it's become Aquaman. That I mean, he looks good and all, and he's in good shape, but you know, it's not in the same league as Arnie, is he? Let's face it. Different class. Arnie's just a different class. You know, as far as I'm concerned, there'll never be anyone as good as Arnie. Never will be. Never has been. Just you know, just Arnie's just a fantastic actor, to be honest. Action, yeah, just a fantastic action star. And yeah, as I said, he does all right. You know, for me, it's not really that convincing and strong performance. Um, and the film is just not as good. But you know, it's as I said, I think it's all right. And the action is all right, and that it's certainly not as enjoyable as Arnie's ones. But it's enjoyable to an extent, you know, like the fighting is good, and that obviously again still no good, not as good as Arnie's, but it's all right. The action is there, um, and the violence is there to an extent. I don't think it's as violent and brutal as Arnie's, but you know, there's moments where it's fighting is good. And it's enjoyable to a certain extent, but yeah, you just don't feel it as good and as enjoyable as Arnie's ones.